Welcome to another episode of Exit Philosophy. He's Mal, I'm Griff, and before we get into it, thank you all for listening. Thanks for subscribing to Exit Philosophy Podcast. And if you enjoy it on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts, make sure to tell your friends, like, share, and leave a review. Mal, the last time we sat together was at the Canadian Futures Showcase on Wednesday.
Right.
And I think it's a really good project that the Blue Jays put together starting in 2013. And it was the T12 at the time, the Robbie Alomar sponsored tournament, or he was sort of the face of the tournament.
Yeah, he was
And
very much.
that has turned around since then, obviously, with Robbie's troubles that he had off field and post retirement. But why was it important to you as a baseball man, as co-owner of the Niagara Ironbacks, to attend the last couple of days at the Futures?
Well, it's a place where, not only is it a celebration of Canadian baseball, but this is something that Blue Jays have put together since 13 to, and what we're trying to do is highlight all the Canadian talent and promote that Canadian talent. So at that event now, I can remember the first one being there. It was not that easy to get college coaches to pay attention. Now there's so many of them coming because they realize just how great the talent is there. And just talking to some of those college recruiting people, a couple of them even there that come up there for the first time. They're amazed at how much talent is that this showcase. You've got six teams of elite Canadian players from all across the country. And for us, it's, you get to network with these college teams, the parents, the players you get to see and talk to. And those are the future Ironbacks that we're hoping to promote as well as they move along through their elite programs into the colleges that obviously are very excited to see if they can add players of that caliber. And those are the players we're looking to add in our summer program. So it's just a great way to expose these Canadian players to the places they need to be seen, and also give them competition. You need to see them play against other top players. I mean, you know, it was arm after arm that was coming out of those bullpens with, the velocity wasn't an issue, that's for sure. And there's some real impressive players that were on that field. It's a great event. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's not just what you just said. It's not just that we need to see them play against top competition. I believe that they need to play against top competition to realize how far they have to go. We had players at the Ironbacks this year who had come up through the Ontario system playing the various levels. And when they showed up for 2 months of an Ironback schedule or 1 month even, they were amazed at how talented these kids were that
Yeah.
surround them, most of them from Ontario. And I think that's important too.
Yeah, no question. You've always got to push yourself and see what's out there and see where your game measures up, right? Everybody needs to find their level and see where they need to improve. And you can't do that if you're just dominating the local circuits. So this is absolutely where you need to be, and this showcases it's such a great thing and so well run. My hat's off to them.
Yeah, and it's not just a preview of the players that might get drafted or turn pro, although there is an opportunity for that. But as you pointed out, it's for the college coaches. And I remember covering the early years for the Toronto Star, and like you said, there were very few coaches. There was very little profile for this tournament, even though it basically was doing the same thing. But now there's eyes on it. You were talking to a coach from Stetson University. I mean, that's not even in the area. That's not like Niagara or
No.
Canisius. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
and it
a
started
national
out
program.
that way. It
Yeah,
started out with mostly the local colleges, but you're right. Now it's really expanded because the word
yeah,
gets out, right? The word gets out that the players are here, so you draw people from a much farther farther geographical area to come see what it's all about.
yeah. So hats off, tip of the cap to the Blue Jays and the organization that they put together to run this tournament. Just 161 players have been drafted out of this that played in this tournament starting in 2013. So 12 years, because you can't count this year. 12 years, 161 players. And you got guys currently in the majors: Denzel Clark, Abraham Toro, Owen Casey, Zach Pop, Bo Naylor, Josh Naylor, Cade Smith, Charles LeBlanc, Tyler Black, Edouard Julien, Matt Brash, Tristan Peters, Mike Soroka. They all played in that.
That's right.
And like when people were watching, they might not have stood out, but they definitely were in the top tier. And that's what the players this year are looking at. That's the history the players have in front of them and the encouragement to come and play in this tournament.
That's right. That's right. It's a real incentive, and it's a real feather in the cap too, if you get selected and to represent yourself and your area and your local team too. So yeah, it's no joke, that's for sure.
So before we go on again, there was a couple of deaths in sports and around Jim Baba, who was executive director of Baseball Canada for 22 years from 2000 to 2021. And I'm sure you worked with him, you were aware of his work. But for me, and I spoke to Greg Hamilton, the current executive director for Team Canada for Baseball Canada, and he talked about the mentorship of Jim Baba. I asked Greg about the fact that Jim was from Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan, and everybody is always accusing Canadian baseball of being elitist, Ontario, Quebec, Eastern Canada. But to have somebody that important, Jim Baba, be from the middle of the country, to me, and I asked Greg, and he confirmed that it unified associations from coast to coast who couldn't make that accusation, even though it sometimes looks like it. And BC, I'll include BC in that listing of elite provinces.
Oh, there's no question about that. Yeah, I mean, you have to give your due, right? Like to see where Baseball Canada's come in the time frame that he was, in charge of it, certainly says a lot about Jim Baba and where it is today. So I mean, and I'm sure Greg echoed those sentiments the whole time. So yeah, another hat tip to Jim.
Yeah, he presided over Team Canada going to 2 Olympic Games and 4
Right.
World Baseball Classics. And it's 1999 is when the senior national team really established itself in Winnipeg at the Pan Am Games. And I remember one of my early, and I ran it by Greg and he laughed. One of my early rejected headlines when Stubby Clapp beat Cuba with a pop fly that just fell among 3 guys or whatever. And so I wrote a column from here. I wasn't there. And I suggested the headline, Cubans have no cure for clap. And they rejected that headline. Can you believe that?
That would have been a New York Post back page. They would not have rejected that.
Working for the wrong paper. So the other one that we did not acknowledge is Ken Dryden. I don't know what Ken Dryden meant to you, but growing up and working in professional sports in Montreal, he was huge. And I just remember his Conn Smythe winning year before he even was a rookie.
That is the craziest stat ever. You win you win the Stanley Cup before you win the Conn Smythe.
Yeah.
He won the Stanley Cup as a kid.
Yeah, before you win the Calder. Yeah. My lasting memory is that New Year's Eve game against the Russians or the Soviets, when that was one of the greatest games ever. They played it at late in the evening, so it went past midnight. But that was probably one of the greatest New Year's Eves.
It really was.
That I remember.
Yeah, I mean, Ken
I don't remember.
He was such a huge character in the game. Like just his presence in the net, what he meant for hockey, that through that time frame as the growth of the game and the international game, of course, really gave it a boost, and he was at the forefront of that, right? And then just the way Ken obviously a very bright man, and the way he carried himself and his compassion and his care for the game, honest care for the game without seemingly any personal agenda, like personal gain. You know what I mean? The work he did with concussions, which, and by the way, 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 way ahead of his time, and with that, correct in all
Yeah.
avenues. He was just meant so much to hockey, especially
I
at our.
think he, I think he was also an influence on kids who had to decide whether to play junior hockey in Canada
Go
or
to
play
college,
in the States. And he
Cornwall,
went to
right?
Cornell. He came out of
Cornell,
Cornell
sorry,
University,
Cornell. Yeah,
Ivy League school.
yeah, yeah.
And I think that influenced a whole generation of young players. Hey, I can go to college and I can
It
come back and make an impact.
it didn't happen back then. Like
Yeah.
like it was rare for somebody to take that route. And of course the famous pose on the stick. How many
Yeah.
do we
That's,
imitate that, right?
yeah.
Everybody? I
Yeah.
mean, just
Unbelievable.
almost. Yeah, yeah.
The third one is Robert Redford, not necessarily a sports figure, but the natural. What was it?
What
Did
do you
you
mean?
like
You
that?
mean Roy Hobbs?
Yeah, yeah, right.
I mean,
Yeah, well, what would you, I mean, there was a lot of reference to the natural when Robert Redford passed away. Was that one of your favorite baseball movies or
oh,
not?
it's right up there. I prefer that and Field of Dreams to more of the cornier ones. Like even though I love them all, like I prefer those movies to Major League or you know what I mean. That type of that movie. I love The Natural. That just made such an impact on me as a young man. So, and I guess Redford, I didn't realize this had a baseball scholarship.
Yeah, I
When
mean, unlike a lot of actors in
yeah,
baseball movies, he looked like he knew what he was
that's
doing.
what I mean. He looked the part, right? So I
Yeah.
mean, it fit, and it's I guess it's time to watch that movie again just to appreciate it. So. Um,
Yeah, and the amazing thing in The Natural is when you look at when you rewatch the movie, you realize that Robert Redford was 2 years younger than Wilford Brimley or
I
whatever.
know.
It's
I
like
know. The
crazy.
grizzled veteran
Oh
manager.
God.
I know.
And then the well, speaking of favorite baseball movies, The Natural and Field of Dreams, when 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 the father and the son are playing catch in Field of Dreams, I have to leave the room, and my kids laugh at me all the time.
Oh, it kills me too.
I
It
start
kills
to
me too.
cry
Oh,
and
me too.
leave the room, and they just laugh their ass off. So,
Same with me. I'm a bit of a softie when it comes to that stuff. So, it's a tough one.
and then the fourth one that you and I have little um, use for is Giorgio Armani.
Sure. We can all appreciate
I
Giorgio's
had a
stuff.
Giorgio Armani suit.
Yeah, I've
One,
had some of his designs, and back in the day when we were trying too hard.
yeah, right.
So,
Anyway, that's the list in memoriam, and so we'll get into Blue Jays baseball playoffs, final month, final magic numbers. Let's start with the debut of Trey Yesavage. I mean, we had spoken about it. We pointed out long ago on Exit Philosophy that sometime in September he would likely be called up and make his debut and be used in the postseason in a relief role, a
yeah,
la
I
David Price from 2008.
I didn't
But
expect him to get a start. That's
well,
for
there
sure.
you go. That's what we'll talk about. Start 5 innings, 2 runs allowed, and 9 strikeouts.
Yeah, 9 strikeouts.
Um, what was your impression? And I know that you don't want to go overboard on that one on his debut. Moving forward, he's still got a long way to go. But what was your impression about his stuff? Will it play in the postseason? How can they use him?
I think the stuff is the great equalizer for coming to the major leagues like that. I mean, he's got such a unique profile. I think not having major leaguers see it as much as, say the following year and what they can do and scout it. I think he's perfect for the back end of a bullpen and key innings. He like we talked about with David Price, obviously different style of pitcher in some respects, but power pitchers, obviously. Um, Yusevich has got such a nasty splitter. It's a nasty, nasty pitch. It just Um, it's a lot of swing and miss in there, which you need in the postseason. So I think it really sets them up for a nice little addition to that pen. Uh, Fills out the bullpen, and it's also a great story. We're here for the stories, Griff. We're here for the stories, not the perfect development plan, for crying out loud. We're trying to win World Series, win games. If he gets hit a little bit, so what? He starts the year in AAA. It's not going to end anybody's career, that's for sure. So I think it's really exciting, and I think everybody can't wait to see him pitch again. So yes, let's put the brakes on a bit. These are major league hitters. It's not going to just be complete skyrocket, but there's reasons for excitement that go beyond just the normal pitch mix, and I think that's the key here.
Yeah, I mean, I can see him being brought in a leverage situation in a playoff series, even against the Yankees. I mean, can you imagine him with his stuff that he's got against Giancarlo Stanton? I think he would do quite well.
I do too.
The
Yeah,
top of the strike zone fastball at 96, and all of
Aaron
a sudden
Judge.
something that looks exactly the same then drops off the table. And you see Stanton is a big swing and miss guy, and when he makes contact, even though his swing isn't classic, he drives the ball a long way. But Yesavage might have the perfect repertoire to handle that, and as you said, Aaron Judge even,
Yeah.
So we're looking at if he does, and I can't see. Let's put this to rest. I can't see him jumping in to the postseason rotation. It would be such a slap in the face and disrespect for veteran pitchers who have put the Blue Jays in the situation that they find themselves in. And you got a couple of guys, or one guy at least, going to the Hall of Fame, another guy who's building a career and already won a Cy Young in Shane Bieber. And those other three guys have been there all along. So to jump a 22-year-old into the rotation, I think, is absurd.
And I also think Yusevich has that certain pitch mix that really plays in the back end of a bullpen in the playoffs. I think it even makes more sense from that perspective to have him, not overexposed. He hasn't earned it. Let's just, like I said, let's pump the brakes a touch on what Trey is at this moment. You're right. You've got guys that have earned it, and I know you've got to win. Winning is the point, but they've been good this year. It's not like you're, pitching Max
Yeah.
Scherzer, who's got a 5.5 ERA or anything like that. So, agreed. I think it would be rather foolish to drop him into a start in the playoffs. I think you're opening yourself up to some massive criticism if it doesn't go well. Whoa, that's
Yeah.
and you don't need to. There's just no
And
reason for it.
recent history suggests that it might not go well for the Blue Jays,
May not go well
given their
in that
playoff
category.
record since 2016.
Yeah, yeah.
But, whereas most teams, as September winds down, as the season winds down, are looking to how they can build up to 4 starting pitchers in the postseason, the Blue Jays are in the unique situation of how do we pare down to 4 starters in the
Right.
postseason.
So, other teams might need Yusevich in the rotation and take a chance on that. You'd rather do that or a Will Warren type. You know what I mean? You're going, let's see what happens here. Jays
So
are in the opposite spot.
I want to run this by you, a postseason pitching staff.
Whew, it's tough.
And I am changing my mind. I mean, I've always been a Barrios guy in terms of being being the 4th starter in that rotation. But Bassett, as we speak, as we record, is pitching in Tampa again today. This afternoon's game, which we won't have the result. But I think he's moved ahead of Barrios. Barrios' struggles continue. Therefore, I'm not leaving him off the pitching staff. But here's my bullpen. If you only need 4 starters, that leaves you room for 9 relievers. So here's my 9 relievers: Trey Yesavage, Barrios, Eric Lauer, Jaden Fisher, and then the regulars: Hoffman, Sir Anthony, Louis Varland, Yariel Rodriguez, and Brendan Little. So that leaves no Tommy Nance, no Brule, no Flu Hardy, no Dylan Tate. Does that seem to make sense to you with the 4 other guys being the starters?
Yeah, the only one I might consider is adding Flu Hardy as another lefty. But then again, who do you take out of that group? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, Fisher proved himself the other night with two amazing
wow,
innings.
Braden Fisher been great. So,
Yeah.
yeah, he sure did a number in Tampa Bay there. I mean, how they won that game is I mean, it was Fisher. I mean, at first, if man on third went out, in the ninth, and man of first and third, nobody out in the tenth, and they got out of it. So he did. So
The most logical way to add Fluharty would be one that would be devastating to the future of Jose Barrios, is to have him in there, just because you can form your roster series by series. So
that's
if there's
right.
a team, if there's an opponent that has a
Bunch of
preponderance
lefties.
of left-handed hitters, you could bring him in, leave Barrios off. But we've talked about the implications of that to the contract of Jose Barrios, who
Yeah, I
has an
think that's going too
opt-out
far.
here.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's going too far. They still hold Jose Barrios, and he can still, you know, give you a great outing. So
Plus, the way that, I mean, and if you talk about the fact that Yesavage, with his unique delivery and stuff, can also get left-handers out. Maybe that's with Brendan Little, who still hasn't shown the ability to be that number one left-hander, even though he's being used like the number one left-hander. His command still is a little better. Like he doesn't fall behind 2-0 as often, but it's still a struggle.
yeah, no, you're still touch and go each time out. He's got obviously the knuckle curve. It's nasty, but I think I like your approach with it, and you can always reassess series to series, right? Uh, how it goes. So Flu Hardy's could be the guy in reserve for series two if need be.
Yeah, yeah. Because you can change the
Yeah,
roster.
yeah,
Yeah, you
that's
can
right.
change
He's
the
not
roster.
exactly a knockout lefty either. So
And there's 10 games left, and there's all the playoff series uniquely.
you just need him for
Might be
Otani when the
injuries.
time
There might
comes.
be guys. Yeah, there might be guys coming up lame. There might be. So we don't know at this point. But
You need him for Otani
ideally,
if and when.
the which?
You need him for Otani if and when.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
right.
it's got to be on the World Series roster.
Yeah, there's plenty of teams in the playoffs that have a lot of left-handed power hitters, left-handed hitters. But Houston, Jordan Alvarez, that's going to be a huge loss for them if he can't come back. But speaking of huge losses, let's talk about the impact of Bo missing the
Okay.
rest of the season, as we discussed on
Where'd you hear
Exit
that first?
Philosophy. Yeah, right, as
We
we
didn't we didn't
discussed a
need
couple
we didn't
weeks
need to
ago.
wait for if you'd have been listening to Exit Philosophy the week before, we
Yeah.
uh we told you that he was not going to return.
So
Unlikely.
to me, the moment where his not being available for the rest of the regular season, maybe even beyond, and we're saying beyond, came when Andres Jimenez got shifted over to shortstop, and
That's a tell, right?
Ernie Clement then became his optimal role, which is utility guy playing second, playing third, providing Gold Glove defense at both those positions, while Andres Jimenez has showed that he is a shortstop.
Oh, he is a shortstop, and that's the tell that Bo won't return. Is if Bo was coming back, he'd probably make sure you're filling in with Clement and IKF at short, and Jimenez remains at second base. But I mean, Jimenez is just your best defender, anyways. Period. And he's probably going to be your shortstop next year. So it made a lot of sense, and you certainly you gain something defensively as we move forward. Obviously, the bat is the issue, um, but for sure, I mean, he's a joy to watch. I mean, over a course of a full season, I'm excited to watch him play shortstop next year. To be honest with you, he's just
But the only problem is batting him eighth or ninth.
well,
Just
you just live with it.
yeah, I mean
You live.
you reinforced another position to add more offense to make up for what you're going to be missing. I mean, 181 hits, I think, is still leading the American League for Bo,
Oh, it
and
is. Yeah, it's just not going to be
44
easy.
doubles or whatever he's got. The
Yeah,
guy's you're a hitter. That's all.
yeah, exactly.
Um, and to me, other than moving Jimenez to shortstop from second and making it look like this is going to be for a while, which suggested that Bo wasn't going to be available, was when they brought up JoJo Parker to take BP at the stadium, trying to
Look at
deflect.
our shiny new
Yeah,
toy.
look at our shiny new toy here. And they have Arjun Namala, who's sort of slowed down in his love affair with with the national media in terms of rating prospects in baseball. But he's still a big prospect. And he's another shortstop, JoJo Parker. You have Ernie Clement always as a backup guy. And Josh Kasevich has come back, and he at one time was considered maybe the shortstop of the future, and he's playing in Buffalo and he's fine, but he's not going to be a Bo or even an Andres Jimenez
Right.
at shortstop. And then Leo Jimenez, who's going to disappear because they'll probably need the roster spot at some
Yeah. Who can fill in here and there at the major league level? You know what I mean?
So now the other guy who is a question and who the Jays don't want fans to forget is Anthony Santander. And I don't know about you, but I don't think that he can be a factor in the postseason this year. He's got 4 more years on his contract. Bring him back healthy to spring training. Have him wash away all of the memories of 2025 where he may have been trying to be too impressive for his new organization and fan base. But it was just a disastrous season for Anthony Santander. So to think he can come back in October and contribute like he did in 2024 for the Orioles instead of like he did April to June in 2025 for the Jays, I think is a bit much.
Although it feels like there's a little uncomfortable situation brewing for me. Like he's really pushing himself to get back, um, obviously. And I don't know. It just feels like the Jays are kind of holding him back a little bit in the sense that he needs to take his time. Just if you read between the lines, it feels like Santander wants to get back here as quick as possible and reclaim his spot. And the Jays are obviously very comfortable rolling with what they have. So while I agree with you, that would make a lot of sense because they've gotten to this point. Obviously, they're going to win the division and get a bye. Um, it just feels like there's a little unease underneath the surface with this situation. So hopefully they get that resolved because I do agree with you logically. It makes sense. But when you're dealing with people and their desire to get back and their desire to contribute and be on a World Series team, who doesn't want to be a part of that? And it's a big major league player. This isn't, a middling guy who's just been part of the process. This is a guy who's supposed to be in and be a star. And for you not to want back a 44 home run guy, I just think there could be a little bit of trouble there. I don't know. I'm just, kind of reading between the lines. It's going to be tough to tell Santander that you're not welcome at this level. And you know what I
Well,
mean?
he'll get over it when he gets his 20 million next year and the year
I
after
hope
it.
so. I
Yeah.
hope so.
But the problem with your suggestion, and there is validity to it, is that this guy's working hard to get back. He's already made 26 plate appearances
That's
in
a
Buffalo
lot.
and is going to keep playing.
That's a
I
lot.
think on Thursday is playing the field
Yes.
for the second straight day. Um, the problem with this whole scenario becomes that Santander, Bo Bichette, and George Springer all should be DHs in the postseason, and you only have one DH spot.
Correct. So Santander has to go, or Springer has to go play the outfield. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In that
And,
case.
and because you and I are assuming that Bo will not be a factor in the postseason.
Yeah, I mean, and it's hey, who knows? Maybe there's a way he finds his, way back into the lineup late in the postseason. I think that's unlikely. It just seems like a strange scenario there. Even if we can't get Santander back, Bo just going to walk in the lineup with no rehab. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like it seems very silly. But yeah, I think it's Springer and Santander and clearly Springer is in the lineup, clearly every
Yeah.
day,
Oh, God,
one
yeah.
way or another. So
And I mean, he's not a donkey in the outfield, although he had some moments in the first couple of months where it looked like DH at this stage. And this was even before he started to hit like the babe. But yeah,
exactly.
in the outfield, we were dismissing him as a leadoff hitter as a right fielder in all ways. And then all of a sudden, he shocked the hell out of us.
Well, everybody in baseball. He's one of the best players in the game, hitters. But I'm sure there's a little unease with Nathan Lucas.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And
Stay there, Anthony.
Joey Loperfido does not have a postseason
No,
role.
he doesn't. But no, Nathan Lucas sure would.
Yeah.
So
There is our listeners may notice that we didn't mention one guy when we were talking about shortstops and shiny objects. Orelvis Martinez was officially released by the Blue Jays organization, and when he was suspended for PED use and then came back in the final week of 2024, and they just pushed him aside, shunned him basically. I think it was etched in stone at that point that his career with the Jays was over. And for me, he's like the guy who stumbles in the racing of the bulls and gets trampled. And in Orelvis's case, the trampling was by all the prospects coming up behind him.
yeah, yeah, I agree. I think the only way he could find his way back into the mix is if he had just a stellar season in Buffalo, and he couldn't have been worse. I mean,
Yeah.
the Blue Jays were embarrassed by bringing him up, and one game into his debut, he gets popped, right? So clearly they were unaware that that was coming because you wouldn't expose yourself in that manner. And you know, he's been whether it's connected or not with the PEDs. He said what he had a buck 76 in AAA
Yeah.
with 13 home runs. Like how the mighty have fallen. He got trampled at Pamplona, all right. Yeah.
I'm dating myself, and I always do, but it reminded me of Don Knotts in the Incredible Mr. Limpet.
Holy smokes! Yes, right. We're going back now.
So
I'm
now
not sure
let's
you're going
get
to gain any new listeners. I mean, I can hear all the youth of Canada turning off there.
well. I think just about now Don Knotts is getting more Google searches than anyone that we've talked about in a long time.
It wasn't that long ago he passed, right? Or was it?
It was a long time ago.
Was
Yeah.
it really? So that says something about us too. So
Right.
just like yesterday.
So here we go with all of a sudden, what's the storyline in the AL East? And it used to be every year was the Red Sox and Yankees and the evil empire. Well, there's an evil empire north now, and that is the Toronto Blue Jays. And to me, the Red Sox are being brushed aside. And it started a Yankees Blue Jays fan organization clubhouse rivalry that really I really enjoy, and it started with Michael Kay saying, "Oh, this isn't a first place team and that was in the middle of a 4-game sweep." He said that because their run differential is so shitty, and then it disappeared or is toned down for a while, and then Buck Martinez on TV says the Yankees are not a good baseball team. They can't field, they can't this, they can't that, they got no fundamentals. And that stirred up a hornet's nest of Yankees fans. I love it. What do you think?
Oh, I love it too. And clearly the comments were, calculated by Buck, just to a little right back at you as the Blue Jays continue to roll and the Yankees kind of stumble a little bit. I mean, the Yankees have been actually played much better baseball, but um, man, the Jays just don't lose. I mean, it's just they just have not cracked in any way. They have not opened the door. There was, when they went into New York and you were thinking when they came out of there losing 2 out of 3, okay, and they just slammed the door shut. The Blue Jays, they just went out and win, win, win. So I love the rivalry and anything like that when you get everybody outside the game kind of pontificating and throwing their opinions in there. It gets the fans excited. It's like they're still the big bad Bronx Bombers, right? And their
Yeah.
team is built around that. So uh yeah, it's a lot of fun. You want to be, when people are saying that stuff, you're playing good baseball because
So, so my question then is like you have to finish it off if you're the Blue Jays. You can't just do
oh
this
boy,
and
you sure do.
forward and then say the Astros and the Yankees play the first round, and then the Yankees come and play the Blue Jays in the division series. You
Yes,
have to win that. And
you
if you
have
win that, if you win that series as the Blue Jays, does that make it a successful season if they don't go all the way? To me, it sort of allows
it
Blue Jays
does.
fans to say,
No, no.
"Oh,
If the
well, we
Jays
beat
win
the
a
Yankees."
series, I know it sounds silly.
Yeah,
You got to buy. You're the one seed probably. Um, with everything, the postseason failures, I haven't won a game, Griff. You know what I mean? If they
yeah.
win a series, to me, that is a success. And I know that's not really what you want to win the World Series when you're sitting in the one spot, but the postseason's a bit of a crapshoot. Um, I just think if you knock off whatever team's there, and particularly if it was the Yankees, you were going to look back on that as a something to build on. Everybody's happy. Everybody's getting extensions. The fan base is buying tickets out the wazoo.
Yeah.
It-
Well, that's important. That's
yeah,
probably the
do
most important
not
for the front office. Yeah.
do not get swept in a postseason series and take your pitcher out in the third inning. Just if you
Yeah.
haven't learned anything, just do not do that because then it undoes all what you've done. So you've got to
So
show when it matters.
it looks like the Blue Jays will be able to get a first round bye because the Astros,
Looking that way.
The AL West is falling behind in the battle between the Mariners and the Astros. So if the Blue Jays were to face the Yankees, where do the Yankees have an advantage? What areas of the field, pitching or offensively, do the Yankees have an advantage over the Jays at this point in time? I think the bullpens, despite the fact that the Yankees loaded up with closers, they haven't shown the ability to do anything more than the Jays bullpen has done.
I,
Yeah,
I think if they have an advantage, it could be the bullpen. I mean, the pedigree is there, but
once you get to the postseason.
fair, yes. And
Yeah,
offensively,
yeah.
I think offensively they should. But I mean, it's hard to
Home
argue the
run,
success. I mean,
home runs definitely, power definitely.
and
You've
power
got
matters in the postseason,
Yeah,
right?
you got your Trent Grisham, who is their equivalent of George Springer in terms of just being a surprising contributor to where they have reached in the standings. I think that that's a fair comparison. But
Well,
the rest, I mean, the number of 20 home run guys the Yankees have is, you can't just say it's because
well,
of the short porch.
and let's face it, if you take a bigger picture look, while the Jays are winning these games, the offense has kind of sputtered a lot in the last little while. Like they've had many games where they've had to come back, and they've put innings together, but they put a lot of zeros on the board through 6 innings quite a bit lately. Which and power matters. And just back to our previous conversation, Rich, you got a guy busting his way back into the lineup with power. If he's got one thing, Santander, it's power. That could be appealing as a bench option, even. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So I think the Yankees on paper have an advantage in that department and potentially in the bullpen. But I mean, the Jays certainly as a well-rounded ball team are much better positioned. So what for?
What I would like to see come out of the Yankees Blue Jays series if it happens is the return of starting pitching as an important factor because both teams have a rotation that can take you 6 innings, 7 innings into a game and then shorten the bullpen need. And I think that that would be good for the game because as we both know, Major League Baseball is a copycat game. And if it works for these guys in terms of allowing your starting pitchers to go 3 times through the lineup if they have to, if they're doing well, then I think that would be good for the baseball. That's what I want to see out of a Yankee Blue Jays.
And I think the Blue Jays' path to success is more of that. Like those are the horses, and frankly, outside of maybe Barrios, they look good. Like you can't argue with what Gosman's giving you. You know what I mean? And obviously, if you get, I mean, Scherzer's going to be limited to a point. But yeah, I think you want to ride your horses as long as you can before you get into the Tommy Nances of, so to speak. You know what I mean? The Braden Fishers and Varlands, all those guys. As much as you like them, they're not exactly uh, lights out, let's get shortened game type guys. You want your guys to take the ball and run with it. I agree, and it's better theater anyways.
Yeah, it just reminded me of something we didn't cover when we were talking about Trey Yesavage. Is would you start him on Sunday in Kansas City? I know people will be listening to this after that's announced, but it hasn't been announced yet. They say that he will be used in Kansas City. Would you use him as a starter, and why?
I think he's earned another shot there. I think that's the one thing. If you're going to put him in the rotation and give him a start, I think if there's a downside, and that's the wrong way to put it, if he's lights out like he was, I mean, it's hard to not to give him another opportunity to build on it, right? You're creating a little bit of a problem. Say he goes out and gives you 6 innings this time and shuts them out. I mean, I mean, it makes it more difficult throwing back in the bullpen a little bit, but. He earned it. I'd like to see it. I mean, so what's he going to do? Piggyback with who? Right?
But here's my theory, is that they say that he will be used in Kansas City.
Right.
But if he starts and they go through the rest of the team, there's an off day on Monday. So now you're getting guys, everyone in the rotation pitching on their seventh day, 6 days rest. And that's what they tried to avoid the last time when there was talk of a 6-man rotation, and yet there were off days. But they didn't want that. So now here's my theory, is you get Trey Yesavage ready. If he has to pitch Friday, if he has to pitch Saturday, he pitches, but more than 3 outs. So 4 or 5 outs, 6 outs. See what he can do, because that will be, we've discussed, that will be his role in the postseason, is being an important leverage guy, but for more than 1 inning. So you let him do that. Then by the end of next week, and then Barrios, obviously, the way he's been pitching, you would have an opportunity for Yesavage to follow him up and get more than 3 outs. Like, if Barrios goes 5 innings, that would be good. So then you give 2 innings to Yesavage, and then you see how he can do in that role. The reason I'm saying that, other than too much rest for your regular starters, is that by the end of next week, the Jays likely will have locked down whatever position they're going to finish for the postseason, whether that's wrapping up. So then you give him his second start at the end of the week when none of the other regular guys really needs to go. And usually when you see that situation, a starter's going 2 innings. So you let Yesavage start one of those games, so he'll have 2 starts and 3 appearances, and then you go into the postseason and you've seen both roles.
Yeah, I can live with that. I think that makes a lot of sense. You better hope Rios doesn't shove when he gets the ball in his.
Yeah. Well, no, you don't hope that. But
he goes 7 shutout.
But that's the other thing. I mean, everybody talks about Barrios against Bassett, the numbers. If you look at the numbers, they're exactly the same over the course of the season. However, Barrios have struggled. He's been pitching on fumes.
The only thing our advanced analytics people would tell you that Bassett has been much, much better. His xFIP is like 3.8 and Barrios is like 4.4. You know what I mean? The resulting numbers have been very similar. But I know you're going to hate that. I'm just going to tell you what's out there, that Bassett has been more effective and just less fortunate than Barrios has been. Yeah, their ERAs are very similar. That's for sure. I mean, and you got to look at more than you got to take into account the whole body of work and who they are. It's not just 1 year, you know what I mean, and what they're capable of too. I know you just look disgusted with that.
You disappoint me so much.
I'm just telling you what is being said out there. I'm just telling you, Griff. There's validity. That's why those numbers are there. He's just.
But I did admit that I would have Barrios
in
the bullpen. Yes. Which is a huge turnaround for me, because I've been saying Barrios as the fourth starter.
Kind of in your corner a little bit too for contractual stuff. Like I've been on that side too.
So going into Thursday's day game against the Rays, and so you'll be listening to this after that result is in. But going into that, there were only 7 teams left that could win 90 or more games, and the Jays already had 89. So there were 7 teams, including the Jays, in contention for 6 spots. And the highest magic number, and I've got the magic numbers for all of them, The highest magic number was the Yankees at 7. To believe that both the Yankees and Red Sox could pass the Jays is absurd. To believe that both the Mariners and Astros could pass the Blue Jays is absurd.
It is
So
now.
basically, they are playing for a first round bye.
Correct.
I mean, they're in.
That's right. They're in. That'd be
So
yeah,
they're
monumental.
playing for a first round bye, which then becomes, if they reach the ALCS and Detroit's there, do they want to play with Detroit having home field? So they want to beat Detroit, and it looks like they can do that. It certainly looks like that.
Home
will
field's
be,
a very big deal for this
yeah,
team. It's a
yeah, for
very
this team
big
for sure.
Yes.
So now, let's revisit the AL Manager of the Year award. I got 5 candidates. You give me your top 3. John Schneider, AJ Hinch, Dan Wilson with the Mariners, Stephen Vogt, Guardians coming on strong, and Mark Kotsay with the Athletics playing in a minor league ballpark with a team that was so bad last year and is now within 10 games of 500. Give me a top 3 of that from that group. I can't hear you.
There we go. My bad. I like Schneider for obvious reasons. I think this team is way overachieved, and as much as he gets criticized in years past, I think he deserves a ton of credit for how this team plays, how this team conducts itself, and how you get so much from all these bit pieces. So, and I'm sorry, I think he's handled the bullpen pretty darn well. If you ask me, if that's a criticism that you hear when they lose a game, you hear that of every manager. I think Schneider's been outstanding, and I really like how he's grown with this team and grown as a major league manager. Stephen Vogt for me, how that team just not very good, and they've suddenly caught fire. I know their schedule isn't what others might be, but to get them into a postseason consideration and very, very, much alive with taking over the Red Sox is very impressive to me. And then out in Seattle, for me, Wilson, I think what's happened out there, um, I like that. As far as the athletics, it is awesome. Yeah, I couldn't argue that. I think he gets votes. Um, I don't know. I think there's better stories right now.
Yeah, I think normally you'd have Alex Cora and Aaron Boone in the discussion, but the Blue Jays have blown both those guys out of the water. They're like looked upon by their fan bases as buffoons at this point. Like, how could you let the Blue
Especially
Jays?
Boone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But yeah, so taking them out of the equation leaves it wide open, and to me, John Schneider is the guy just for many of the reasons. And I'm glad you said about fan criticism of the bullpen, and it's like that makes me feel better about my Ironbacks bullpen, and the fact that you never really, as co-owner of the team, never really ripped me for some of the late game losses that we
I didn't give you so many options as John has, though.
This is true. This is true.
Yeah.
So John Schneider for me is going to win it. Then AJ Hinch was up there, but like you, I drop him out of there. I mean, AJ Hinch, the Tigers, didn't they make the playoffs last year?
Yeah, they had the magical run. They were a 500 team, and then took advantage of a soft schedule and made a magical run. And I like them. I like Hinch. They're a good team, but they still beat up on a weak division.
Yeah.
But hey,
And
they win the games.
he has Tarek Skubal also.
That's kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like in game 1 of the Diamondbacks Yankees World Series, where I went in the interview room and I asked, what do you think of people who say that given Randy Johnson and Kurt Schilling, I could have won the National League? And he looked at me anyways, just shook his head, because I played golf with him before, so I knew him. But yeah, so like given your weapons, and the Blue Jays, I don't think have the Blue Jays. We've talked about their pitching rotation as being like a bunch of even level guys, but nobody standing out. I mean, still don't have a guy ranked in the top 20 major league starters, even though they have the best record in baseball.
Right.
Or a best record in the American League. I'm sorry. But my second finisher would be Dan Wilson.
Yeah.
Because the Mariners, they went through a lull. And granted, they have the best young rotation in baseball. But to pull that team out of it, and even after the trade deadline when they got Naylor and they got the third baseman Suarez, they weren't performing. They weren't doing it. And then all of a sudden, here they come, and they'll, in my opinion, they'll finish ahead of the Astros at this point and win that division. So he'd be my second guy, and then Stephen Vogt, just for what he's done with the Guardians with one player, basically one player. And they traded, or they lost their closer, Class A, to a suspension.
Right.
And they use the Canadian now and he's doing a great job for them in the bullpen.
Seems like a long time to investigate a pitch for class.
Yeah, right. So that
one pitch, first pitch. Yeah.
But I think the story there, when we just make that discussion, is that John Schneider, all of a sudden, and it's not just you and I, it's just not just exit philosophy, but there's a lot of talk about him being manager of the year, MLB Network and everywhere, which is amazing considering that he was thought to be a clown when he took over.
Correct. Yeah, and a couple of years into it even. Yes.
Yeah. Now, just before we get to the NFL, because I'm itching to get to the NFL, even though we had a bad week last week, or a mediocre week. The one advantage that the Jays have going to the postseason, and we see it every time they play another team in a series, is the defense. I mean, defensively, and that could be a reason why guys come up to the majors like Trey Yesavage and show better than they did at AAA or AA, is that they weren't blessed with that defense when they did that before. And it's even better with Jimenez at shortstop and Clement and the guys that they have, IKF as a utility guy, and the outfield. So do you see that every time the Blue Jays face an opponent and a ball goes under Rice's glove at first, or he fans on a pitch and swats it to the backstop? I mean, do you see that as something that could make a huge difference in the postseason?
I do. I think defense really matters in the postseason. Over a full season, I guess you can outslug it perhaps, as the Yankees have done. But boy, it's so critical. You just can't afford to make mistakes when everything's on the line in a one-game scenario. You can't have 4 out innings. And the Blue Jays just are far superior to that. Obviously, you got to make sure. I don't want to see David Schneider playing second base in the postseason.
Yeah, absolutely.
But if he's not, I mean, it is a huge advantage as long as, obviously you get the play that you desire type thing. You can live with Barger over there at third. If you've got, and Barger's been fine, but it's certainly not an elite defender by any means.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, with Jimenez and say IKF or Clement, I mean, that's as good as it gets defensively. And then now you've mentioned this, I think something to keep an eye on. You mentioned this before we started this. It was Dalton Varsho. Is there any issue there? I mean, clearly, he is a premier defensive. He hasn't played in the last 2 days, and nobody's really delved into that being an unusual thing. So maybe something just to monitor too, right?
Yeah.
Is there something bothering him? I'm curious because
God bless Miles Straw, but Miles Straw is he gives you decent defense, good defense, but he's not the threat certainly that Dalton Varsho is, even if you're only talking a power threat. But that's something that plays up in the postseason. So.
Yeah, so I'm curious, something just to keep an eye on. Maybe he's in the lineup today. I'm not sure, and it's a minor thing, but Yeah, you want to make sure defensively you use that advantage. You don't give it back by putting a Schneider at second base and things like that. So yeah, I think it's a distinct advantage in a short series.
One more thing, we often criticize Major League Baseball for some of their policies, changes, pitch clock, whatever. But to me, September has become a much better baseball month with the number of teams that are thinking going into the month that they can compete, and with the fact that you can't expand to 40-man roster because it's two more players, so 28. But to me, it was always covering up the fact that in September you could have a terrific record if you were a bad team, because when you're facing other bad teams, they're playing all their
Yeah.
AAA guys that they have on their roster. While if you want to sell tickets, like for instance, some of the early 2000s Blue Jays, you could play your regular guys against AAA guys, run up some wins in September, and then use that in the offseason and say, well, hey, we finished strong and we didn't never gave up and blah, 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 which is BS. You just wanted to sell tickets. But to me, those changes by MLB reducing the 40-man roster, because everybody's got a complex now where they can send those extra guys. It used to be
Yeah,
that
but then
you
but
needed to put 40 men on your roster, otherwise they go home and disappear.
yeah, but now the AAA season continues. It used to
Yeah.
end in
Well, that's
September.
part
So
of it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So at least they kept those guys playing. So right. So and because historically all those guys were coming up to the majors a lot of them. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So you're right.
Yeah.
So you can go to the complex or the AAA guys are still playing and you've got to, you know what I mean? There's still guys available to you, injury, things like that. So yeah, I agree with you there.
And lost in the subtlety of MLB ownership objecting to things that help players is that they had to start a lot of players service clocks, so they'd get 25 days in September, and then all of a sudden you go, oh shit, we got to keep them down an extra month so that we hold them for a seventh year as free agents. So they didn't want that. They didn't want all those guys coming up, you know.
Well, and
And
if you've noticed that I mean that was such a massive issue in baseball forever. It's kind of gone by the wayside a bit.
yeah,
Teams are locking up their guys that are less, and that issue's gone away too.
well,
So,
I
mhm.
remember. I mean, we've talked about this before with Alex Anthopoulos talking about if I have a really great prospect that I believe in,
You're gonna pay him
holding him
anyway.
down for another 30 days, he's never going to be sent back down, and we're going to lock a guy up if we think he's
Yep.
that valuable. We'll lock him up before free agency, and that was probably one of the smartest things I've heard a guy say about, just you. Some people just go in, oh, we can't bring him up
Yeah.
until the middle of May so we can keep him an extra year before
Right.
free agency. But you're not seeing it anymore because guys, as you pointed out just now, are locking up their best players in year one, sometimes even before that.
I
Year
know.
one, year two, year three. And I'm not a huge fan of that because, giving a 22-year-old
Well, there's
$25 million
risks.
guaranteed.
There's
Yeah.
risks, but it certainly is cost control too, right? You know what you're paying, and
Yeah.
so I
But hats off to MLB for that and
yep.
for keeping more teams interested at the trade deadline because they think they can put on a rally and contend, and for keeping more teams interested in
Yeah.
September and not allowing tanking so much in the month of September.
Right.
And just before we get to NFL, heading into Thursday's games, the AL East is 46 games above 500 combined as a five. And the Orioles have been coming on strong. Nobody notices they're only 8 games under
They've
500.
played good baseball for a
Yeah, they're
while.
playing good baseball for a while. And the Blue Jays, of course, and the Yankees and Red Sox, and the Rays have been a disappointment, as predicted again on Exit Philosophy long ago. So 46 games above 500 as the best division in baseball. Second best is surprisingly the NL Central, led by Milwaukee and the Cubs. They're
Yeah.
both clinched a playoff berth. But the thing when people say that the National League this year is stronger. The American League is weaker, susceptible. People should know that the worst 3 teams in the National League are a combined 122 games under 500. That's 122 wins distributed to other teams,
Yes.
which will inflate the upper levels of your league.
That's right.
And the bottom 3 in the American League are combined 73 games under 500. So that's 49 game difference, 49 loss difference between leagues. So I don't think going into the postseason you should go bet 365 and put all your money on the National League team, because there are extenuating factors.
Yes, agreed.
Let's see now. NFL picks.
Yes.
Last week,
frustrating.
Mal, you were 2-3.
Yeah, and I'm never one to bitch about, but if there was ever a bad beat, it was the Denver game. They had the game.
God.
I mean, Lord have mercy. I had already put that in the W column. What was that penalty?
I'm sure a lot of people had. What kind of a call was that? Like,
come on.
Even showing replays, you see that hand on the back move, but he didn't launch himself.
Right.
You know, like, and this kid is kicking a 60-yard field goal that he's never kicked one that far. And the play that they called a penalty on had nothing to do with the kick missing.
And it's a personal foul, 15 yards. It's not a 5
yards. It should be 5 yards.
Right. I mean, it's just like you have to be kidding. So I took it on the chin there. So
yeah,
you got to wear it. Made me 2-3 instead of 3-2 for the week.
So for the season, you're 6-4.
Right.
In 2 weeks. And I'm 4-6 because I was consistent 2-3, 2-3. So I was 4-6. But we both had Atlanta Falcons both weeks, and it's a 1-1. So combined, if you're betting with exit philosophy recommendations, you're 9-9, and you're just paying the juice.
Yeah, and we'll get you back.
We'll get you back this week.
Yes.
So let's go, Mal, with your 5.
Okay.
We're using Bet 365 Thursday morning or Wednesday night lines.
Okay, so you tell me if the Wednesday night was different than the Thursday morning. I have the Cincinnati Bengals getting 3 points in Minnesota. Yes, I'm well aware Joe Burrow isn't playing. I think Browning can move the ball. And I know Carson Wentz is playing, which I don't necessarily know that's a bad thing for them either. I think the Bengals have a legit shot to win this game, and I'm not sure they're just going to fall to the wayside just because Burrow's out right away. I think Browning can handle himself. So I'm looking for them to hang in there at the very least, if not win the game. So
it's already week 3, and there's quarterbacks that you didn't factor in starting
both teams. Yeah. One's got a turf toe and the other one's got a fake injury.
Yeah, right. What's number 2?
Number 2 is coming back to my preseason surprise, who needs to start surprising the Tennessee Titans, getting 4 hosting the unbelievable Indianapolis Colts. So I'm hoping for a bit of regression from the Colts on the road here, and Cam Ward to develop, and he hasn't been horrible. I know. I think we're going to get that game from him. So I'll take the 4 points at home. Team number 3. I love what the Rams are doing. They're getting 3.5 at the Super Bowl champion Eagles, but that Rams team is, I think, sneaky good, as long as the quarterback stays upright. So I'll take 3.5 there with the Rams. I'm going to take another home team, slight underdog, New England Patriots, home to the Steelers, getting 1.5. I just think New England might be better. I just think Aaron Rodgers is,
Yeah, I was going to say
he might have a day. It comes and goes, but I think it's going more than it's coming. So, I'll take the Drake May in New England. And finally, we're going to go to the Monday Nighter. And I'm going to take the Ravens minus 4.5. The Lions sure looked like the Lions again, didn't they? But I like Baltimore at home. I just think they'll cover that 4.5. We'll see what the Lions do in Game 3. They did.
You got 4 dogs this week. 4
dogs and 1 favorite to round it out. What do you got, Mr. Griffin?
My 5. I'll just go down the list here. The Jaguars giving 1.5 to the Texans. They're playing at home. They're playing well. I think
Yeah,
the
they
Texans are realizing that their offense is not as good as they
well, their
were
offensive
hoping.
line stinks. Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, and the Jags have all sorts of like spiritual stuff going on in terms of yeah, we're big in NFL spirits right here.
Yeah.
So Jaguars -1.5, and then I'll go, if you go with your Titans, I'm going with my Jets every week, +6.5 against the Buccaneers. I know that Fields is out. He's not quarterbacking, which might or might not be a bad thing. I think it might be a good thing. It's just a little mix it up. And the Bucks are not as, giving 6.5. I think that the Jets are going to cover that. So I also have the Patriots at home,
Okay.
1.5 against the Steelers. So we seem to have one common every week, and that's the one. And then I got the Broncos +3 at the Chargers.
I like that.
Yeah, the Broncos defense hasn't really showed what they can do. I think the Chargers, with two games of Justin Herbert video, that the Broncos defense can figure it out and hold them down and cover the 3 points.
Yep.
And then my final one is the Chiefs and Giants under 45. My under last week was not a good call. But I think
I'm racing to the window. Give me that over. That was
the Giants are not going to score 37 against the Chiefs like they did against the Cowboys.
I wouldn't think so.
The Chiefs, they're going to just try and win a game. They're going to try and control a game. It's not like they're in a boisterous, joyous mood, because they are 0-2. And so in order to
hard to believe Russell Wilson's going to have another game like that ever.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
So I agree with you.
Yeah. So there we
right.
go. That's the 5. Your 5, my 5. Book it. And we'll summarize next Thursday when we come back.
Yes, we will.
But yeah, so that wraps up another episode of Exit Philosophy. And we covered a lot of ground there. But by the time we go on next week, we'll have a better understanding of the first, when the Blue Jays will be playing their first playoff series. And I believe that they'll be able to skip the wild card series and set up everything for that division series. So that'll be great. And we appreciate everyone listening, everyone subscribing, and share it with your friends and let them know that this is the smartest baseball podcast out there.
Right. That's right.
Yeah.
We'll tell you about Bo Bichette before the rest of the world does. So
all of that stuff. Trey Yesavage.
That's right. That's right.
So yeah, thanks, Mal, for co-hosting, and good luck with. Are you going back to any more of the?
Haven't decided.
Futures?
I'm debating on, obviously, if I go tomorrow for the Derby, it's just pure entertainment at that point. So I'll make a call on. Are you going?
No, I'm in the process of moving.
Oh, that's correct.
To probably Stony Creek, so we'll figure this out. Yeah.
All right.
I'll be packing boxes. So.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thanks, Mal. Thanks everyone for listening, and we'll talk to you next week.
Okay.